All righty. Hello, everyone, and welcome back again. Let me fix this light level a little bit brighter. There you go. All right. So this week was really, really fun. And I'll tell you why in a second. Let me remove my slideshow here so I can take a look at what I'm going to be talking about. Okay. So, as you may have heard from me last week, I told you guys that Mike Lee was planning on making a trip down here to the DC area, Washington, DC, and primarily to visit the nephew and his new wife. By that, I mean his very first wife. They were very young folks. My wife said, "Oh, they are so cute." And yeah, and they were. I expected older folks, but that wasn't the case. And he works at the Food and Drug Administration, which used to be, boy, I need a shave, used to be at NIH, National Institute of Health. They moved to the old Naval Research Center, which is east of me. NIH is west of me. And but anyway, so he told me I looked it up and they're like 15 minutes away from you. I go, oh, like where? And he tells me the address. And sure enough, this is the shopping center that I and my wife go to quite often to shop and go to the bookstore and whatever, and also go out to eat. So right there in the corner of one of our favorite little restaurants is where they were staying and actually where they live now. And so Mike and his wife got a room again right there in the same parking area. There's a hotel. And it's one of these super highly developed areas in Rockville, Maryland. Um, and so we met Tuesday. They had a family day together, Sunday and Monday. And then this past Tuesday, I went to pick him up. My wife had just gone to the dentist and get a cleaning done, and they were really rough on her. She's got bridges, so they have to really dig in there. And so she was bleeding a little bit, and so she said, "I'm taking a nap. I can't go with you today." And so I went and picked him up, and we proceeded down to. I asked him, "What do you want to do? You want to go on a sightseeing tour? There's just too much to see. I can take you nonstop for several days, and you will still not see everything." So they said they laughed, and so we started on what is normally called Rockville Pike, which is Road 355 in Maryland. If you're from this area, you know what I'm talking about. And then it becomes Wisconsin Avenue once it crosses over to the DC line. But we went down and down far enough so that we could reach what used to be Bethesda Naval Center, which is a hospital where the presidents go, and now it's become Walter Reed National Military Medical Center. And right across the street from that is the NIH. And I said, this is where Fauci used to work. And my boss and he were very close friends, and we called him Tony and Uncle Tony. And we used to travel to meetings all over the place together. And yeah, those were the days. My boss used to work for him and other big shots there. He was involved in the initial months of the AIDS epidemic, and he's the one that probably did the very first set of autopsies from um, people who passed away from the results of secondary infections due to the AIDS virus. But anyway, we proceeded down and then looked at the sites. I took them, and here's Saks Fifth Avenue. This is where the millionaires go shopping, and he was amazed with that, and went down to East West Highway, which is like the name says, goes from east to west and back and forth. Went down to Connecticut Avenue, which is another major thoroughfare, past the National Zoo, and then we ended up downtown. Took 16th Street South and ended up in front of the White House. Went around the White House and looked at the mall, the Washington Monument, the Capitol on the left, east of us at that point. And then we made a loop, came back up 16th Street, And we went to where I used to work for 25 years with the old Walter Reed Army Medical Center, which is now, it was closed during a what they call a BRAC or base realignment um, back when Bush was president. And at that point, it was 2011, everything started to close down, and I retired from both, earlier on, 89, I retired from the Army, and then from my career as a research assistant for the Armed Forces Institute of Pathology. So actually, that place was still there because my building was a ridiculous big giant concrete bunker with no windows, 8 floors, five above and three underground, with these tunnels that I never really figure out where they led to. But yeah, a lot of important stuff went on there. And anyway, so that building was still there. That made my heart pitter patter a little bit, which was good. But then everything else was gone and transformed into housing and park and you name it. But they kept the name. So at least, in a way, as much as I despise what happened, it had to happen because there was no one wanted to use any of those facilities anymore. They kept the historic building. That was good. So then we headed back and took them to my town, Kensington, took them on a tour of Kensington, which is kind of a village from 1890, 1880, 90 something. That's when it was founded. And we have an old train station there that is still active. And then from that point, we went driving around locally to show them the local neighborhood. And then we ended up going back up to Rockville Pike and to their hotel. And then we went to eat lunch. We went to a little Japanese ramen place, and they loved it. It was fantastic. I had been there before with my kids, and yeah, I fell in love with it. And then I dropped them off, went back home, spent some time with Janine, and they said, "Well, let's go to your favorite restaurant for dinner, and please ask Janine if she wants to come." And so Janine said yes. We ended up going to Mosaic, which is a beautiful little restaurant right there, right like 30 feet away from them, and had a wonderful time there as well. And then the next day, they called me because they said, "Oh, we forgot to take a group shot." And so I went, "Okay." So I grabbed my wife and we drove back to that area, to the hotel. And then when we got there, he and his nephew were outside, and they walked me over to the parking garage for the apartment building. And lo and behold, the poor kid needed a battery jump. So his battery was dead and it just wasn't maintaining a charge. Well, lucky for me, I had a set of charging cables. So we did that. And then after that, we had a picture taken. And I just downloaded this. Let me go ahead and show you this. One of many pictures that they took. What is this? Adobe Acrobat has updated successfully. Well, wonderful. I'm glad that happened, right? Good Lord. Okay. So let's go ahead and open this up. And I am going to put this on my second screen. And this is us with the cables after the successful charging up of his battery. And there I am. I'm connecting it to my ears because my brain needs a little recharge as well. Here's Mike. Here's Mike's wife, and this is my lovely wife, Janine. And so this is the garage. And so after that, we said goodbye. And they were heading over to the airport, but they had to go to Costco, buy a new battery. And Mike installed it within like 10 minutes, and they were able to head on out to the airport. If you're from the area, you know this area, they went to Dulles International Airport. All right. So yeah, it was a really fun time. And yeah, they were so impressed with DC. And me, I hadn't been down there from where I live. I live like, okay, so I live about maybe 15 miles from the front of the White House, straight line from where I live. And that was, you know, if I had gone directly, then yeah, it would have been easy straight down 16th Street. But the way we went, we took all the side roads and all of the connecting roads. I wanted to give them as much of a tour of all the whole area and the different types of buildings that we have, and all of that, because they go from like the 20s all the way to today, all within one block, in the same block. So you see old, middle, 50s, 70s. Oh, this is 2026. Coming up, it's going to be built next year. Yeah, even that much. So um, let me go ahead and see how many people we have here. We got 26 on board. We got a bunch of people here on the chat already. And I'm going to share with you something. Well, more than something, is many, many things. Remember what my grandson asked Grandpa. Grandpa, do you have any antique cameras? And I looked at him like, are you really asking me that? Yeah, so I have them right here. And we're going to put them here and there and behind as I go through them one by one. But that'll be a little bit later on today. So let me think. Let me see. So yeah, I had a fantastic time with Mike. Let me remove that, because if I don't do that, I'll repeat myself. Before I begin, and this is lately, I've been asked about maintenance for printers. Like, what do I do as a printer owner? It's not like, well, if you're really good with cars, you can perform your own maintenance. But normally, like me, I used to take engines apart and put them back together. I used to rebuild my engines. I don't do that anymore. Forget about it. If I can afford it, I have someone else do it. Oil changes, yeah, that was just something I would do within 20 minutes. Not anymore. I just go down the street to the oil change place. I can sit in my car and relax, listen to music while they're doing the job. Yeah, no more of that for me. So, but maintenance, you don't have to take your printer to a shop to perform simple required maintenance. They don't tell you to do this. They don't tell you to do this because, and I don't want to sound really mean, but I would think, because it's all about money, they want your printer to act up and then have you take it to a shop, or have you decide, oh, I've had it, I'm going to buy a new printer. Of course, it's all about selling the product to you and the newest of the newest. But these printers, if you take good care of them, they will last you years. Come on. It's when you ignore them and you don't take care of them that they break down. The more you use a printer, the happier the printer will be and the healthier it will be. You would think that it would wear out. No, it actually feels better. It's like us and exercising our bodies. If we don't move, we lose our ability to move. Okay. The same thing with printers. So let's begin here before I get too carried away. And this is Nigel Water, but I want you to see. Yeah, I'm not going to restart my computer now. Thank you. I want you to see the code that they have decided to give him at 20 BCRP 030853. Okay, it's Nigel Waters. So now I know who this guy is. Okay. Wales, UK, Canon Pro 300 with all the trimmings. And he came on at 6:36 this morning, my time. That's Eastern time. At TPD 605, that is his Ron K from Trenton, New Jersey, Ecotank 8550, Q-Mitch Ultimate Lifetime, Canon R5 Mark II, and a Canon 7D. This is Fred Elias, Feslope, Warren, Michigan, and Epson 8550 Q images. Ooh, okay, both. Leica M3, Nikon D300. I have mine upstairs. I have a D300 in my drawer upstairs in my dresser. I1 Pro, other goodies, all OEM. Happy, early happy Thanksgiving to all. Yeah. we're planning a big old shindig. We're going to have 30, I was told, 34 people in one house. It's a big house. It's not as big as the Mooney house, my in-laws, but still. And they just recently got rid of some other couches, so I don't know what we're going to be doing, standing around. If that is the case, my wife and I will not be able to stay too long due to her ribs on the side. They're healing up. She's doing much better. She can actually go shopping. She can go walking slowly, and things are looking up. But yeah. Oh, by the way, and my son-in-law, he's on rehab right now, doing daily PT as well as OT. So physical therapy, occupational therapy, which is what I used to do in the Army early on, and doing well. We just need to get past his psychological issues that he has. He wants to do it right now overnight. And of course, that ain't going to happen. Okay. So he's getting electrotherapy on his muscles, the little devices, little patches that you attach, and getting some of his motion back. And he actually met his wife, who couldn't go for a whole week. He met her at the door walking by himself. So other than that, when he's sitting down talking, he sounds almost absolutely normal, which is good. He doesn't need any kind of voice therapy at all. He's got the voice of a guy behind the microphone. He's amazing, amazing voice. Richard Bender is here, Hagerstown, Maryland. EcoTank 8550 DJI drone, QMH Ultimate, Nikon D300, many film cameras, all in storage. Oh, yeah, mine was sort of in storage. I don't want to even show you how, but I will be bringing them out in a few. Epson 4180 flatbed scanner, Red River, Canson, Epson, Canon, HP, and Kodak papers. Kevin Berniarski from Ellsworth, Wisconsin, Canon Pro 300, Epson EcoTank 8550, Epson XP 15,000. Oh, by the way, my wife has had the 15,000. I cannot tell you how many months it's been upstairs, and probably at least a year, I would say. And I've been telling myself, you got to top off those cartridges. You got to top off those cartridges. I just did like 2 days ago. They were almost full. It was amazing how little she prints. But yeah, it's fun. I got them all topped off, and it should last her a year again. So, but anyway, the printer is perfectly fine, producing perfect results. It's an amazing little printer. And once you install the chipless firmware, then you can go ahead and continue refilling it directly right through the port, drop by drop. Okie doke. Steve Excel, London, UK, Epson P800, refillable cartridges and OEM ink. Let's see, what is your printer? Oh, P800, sorry. So you got the refillable cartridges because you can do that in the UK. That's awesome. I wish that was the case here. Anyway, I'm doing fine with it, with chipless firmware. Studio spectrophotometer, QMH, Photoshop, Nikon Z7 II, and Epson V500, which is the one that I have right here. It's a good scanner. I had a V800, which is like it's like that thick, way more advanced than mine. But that was 800 something plus dollars, and I just could not, talk myself into getting something like that. I had one at work. Okay, Captain Donzi. There's got to be another name for that. From Cool and Sunny Richmond. I know who that is. Pro 100 with all the trimmings. Martin Van Gogh from the Netherlands bought a new camera body, a Sony A7R Mark V system full frame. Wow. Resolution 62, you mean megapixel, right? Yeah. That's amazing. I couldn't even tell you. I've never had the pleasure of using something like that. Okay, here's Henry Stoffel. Welcome from cool and overcast Medford. What are we having today? We have 57, mostly sunny. Last night we had a little bit of rain, but it was almost imperceptible. He's got an Epson P800, OEM inks, and of course, QMH Ultimate. Photo Nikon 780. Greetings from cool and icy Edmonton, Canada. Canon Pro 1000, Epson EcoTank 8550, XP 15000, OEM inks, QMH Ultimate, papers, Red River, OEM papers, and Red River papers. Okay, Mike is here. Mike Cheney is here. Hello and chat. Hello, Jose and chat. People should watch your streams. You never know when a company will leak info about a brand new software product that will take printing industry by storm soon. Uh-oh, he knows something. My friend knows something. Okay. That's a good recommendation. Whether there's anything new or not, we always have a great time here and we discuss things and I share. Even if I'm talking about something 20 years ago, a lot of things are still relevant today as far as techniques and process, how you go about printing correctly. That has not really changed. The methods have changed, but the technology has not changed. So I'll be waiting. Okay, I'll be waiting, my friend. Fred Bird, commercial, legal, aerial photographic restoration, work with two Nikon D800 and a D850 and Epson P700. Harold Davies is here from La Crosse, Wisconsin, Pro 1100 and a 2100 using PCSE and QImage. All right. Welcome. Steve, Germantown. So Germantown is just north of where I was with Mike. And he's got an R2000 from me, still working great. That's awesome. So yeah, I tell you, I had such a good time. I really didn't make it any further north than downtown Rockville. We took a swing by there, and we just went around making loops, okay, and just trying to show him as much as I could of our general area, which is just humongous. Okay, Photo Nikon 780 says, at Mike Cheney, you have made my ears perked up and ready for a sneak preview. That's going to be fun. Let's keep our eyes and ears open. Pete Grovell, did you get my email sent Thursday? An image. I think I did. Where did you send it to? My Yahoo or my Gmail? And oh yeah, you told me about yes. Let me take a peek because you did send me a photograph. Down here, I cannot open my Yahoo for some odd reason. I can only open my Gmail. So let me see if you sent that to me. When was it? You sent it on the Thursday. So Thursday was what day? Thursday was the 20th. Yeah, you must have sent it to my Yahoo. Unfortunately, I hate to tell you, I cannot get it down here, and I can only get it on my phone. I don't know why. It's asking me for verification who I am, and it wants to have a USB verification, which, of course, I never set that up. I don't even know what that is. And so, unfortunately, I will not be able to. But I know what you want. I know what you want me to do. And I had actually loaded some glossy 2 paper Canon on my Pro 1000, and I was going to do that. And then I couldn't find your photo. I could not find it. Let me see. Let me go get my phone, and I'll send it to my Gmail from my phone if I can find it. Hang on. Yeah, I got it. Let me go ahead and send it, forward it to my Gmail. Sending. Message sent. Okay, so I should be able to see it now. There you go. You heard that, right? But I don't see it. Okay, here we go. Got it. But it's just the price drop. I don't see a photo. Let me check my phone again. It's the price drop of the EcoTank 8550, in case people are interested. Show images. Yeah. Can you send it again? Send me that image. See, it's not here. Send me that image again to ToolJoe. ToolJoe1949 at Gmail, directly to Gmail. I'll put it down here in the chat. Folks, what he wanted me to do was to run that image using perceptual as well as the other that I just forgot what it's called. You know what I mean. So on the Pro 1000, relative colorimetric. So we'll do that once he resends that image to me, and send it directly to the tooljoe1949 at gmail.com. Okay, and from now on, just send things to Gmail because I can access that here. I don't know why. I would have to have some IT person come over and figure out what the hell is going on. But I can do it on my phone, no issues. All right, Harold Davies, 1984. On our Pro 10, we did all the maintenance you've recommended and lasted for 4,000 prints. Then had an electronic failure after 6.5 years and a great printer. None of my printers have ever reached that level of count. Okay. My Pro 100 age-wise, I think this past August would have been 14 years, but I already needed a new print head prior to that. And again, that nothing to do with the printer. It's just the print heads wear out and they are replaceable. That's why they are replaceable by you, the user. They do wear out. They don't last forever. You need to understand that when you buy a Canon printer. Okay. So yeah, that's actually amazing. So thank you, Harold. Yeah, that's pretty good. Isn't it normally like $13.99 or something like that? So for anyone who's willing or wanting to jump over to that quality of a printer, yeah, that's a good deal. That is a good deal. Again, that's not just for someone who's going to be printing every once in a while. Just get that through your head. You have to print often on these printers. And the more you print, the happier the printer will be. I'm telling you the truth. Okay. This is not, I'm not telling you to print so you use more ink and the companies make more money. No, that's the way it is. You have to use them. Okay. I remember clearly um, when I was working at the Inter-American Defense College, which is part of the Pan-American Union. And we passed that. We passed that on 16th Street the other day, Mike and I and his wife. And I told him I worked for those people. And he was like, is there anyone you haven't worked for? Anybody big shot? Yeah. It's been a lot of fun. I still to this day, I ponder how the hell did I get those choice assignments? Someone was looking after me. So I used to be very friendly with a guy who was a draftman. He used those drafting pens that have like a syringe needle, but it's blunt, and they come in different diameters, so create different thickness lines. And he told me they use India ink, and they told me that you have to draw pretty much constantly with these pens, otherwise they clog up. So even at overnight, they would clog up. So what he would do, he would remove the tip and put it in some sort of solvent solution every night before he went home. And every morning he would flush them out. And that way he could make sure that his little tips were not clogged. Reminds you of something? Yeah. So it's amazing. And people just don't get that you have to use printers as much as possible. And you will get 10,000 prints out of a printer. And imagine if you were selling 10,000 prints at $1 each, that's $10,000. That's not counting your supplies, obviously, but you know, right off the bat, that would be $10,000 that you can generate. And your printer maybe costs you 500. You see what I mean? So, oh man, I'm itchy. The only thing I can leak for today, says Mike, is that in a few days, your EcoTank 8550 will become so much more than a printer and will do things you've never imagined it could do. Uh, are you talking about our current 8550? Or do we have to buy a new 8550.20 or 2.0? Can you at least tell us that much? Yes, please hit that like button. If you can access it on your phone or your computer, please do so. Or make sure you do it after you are done watching. Yeah. All right. My Epson P600 bought 2017 was going strong when I sold it last year. Yeah. Talk about the guy here locally that I just sold at R2000 right here, Steve. Uh, how old is the R2000? I got it when it was new. Okay. When it just came out. When was that? And it was still running fine. It's amazing. Again, take care of your printers. They will last you more than you probably want to. I know that's a terrible thing to say, but they will last you. They will last you a long time. Yeah. Okay, so I will check that in a second. No new EcoTank 8550. The one you have will gain some incredible functionality with this new software. Okay. All right, that's it. So I'll leave it at that, and you can leave it at that as well. And we'll just wait. We'll just wait it out. My Epson 1900 was bought in 2008, still going strong. I have one. I have one in the back. I just don't have. It probably needs a very thorough declogging, but and all I would need would be a set of refill cartridges and get it running again. It was a good printer, very good printer. Okay, let me check my Gmail. That is strange. Why don't I see that? I have a message here. Yeah, that's the one that I sent myself. I don't see yours. What the heck is going on? Let me go to my Gmail. Oh, sorry, buddy. I don't see it. I know it's hard to read, but anyway, it's not there. Make sure you send it again. Tool Joe 1949. Okay? Make sure I typed that correctly. Tool Joe 1949. Yeah, I don't have it. Here you go. I'll show you. So this is my last. This is what I just sent myself. Okay? I forwarded this from my Yahoo. This is your price alert. Okay? That is one hell of a mystery. I don't know why. Yeah, this is tooljoe1949gmail.com. You can see it right here. Go ahead and try again. That's all I can say. What a pain. That, I tell you, sometimes I just wonder what the heck is going on. Epson no longer supplying ink for the 1900. Told me to go to third party. Yeah, I love the way they tell you that. It's like, oh, go ahead and use third party. Yeah, of course. You can buy the cartridges. I think you can get them through Precision Colors as well. They have really good ink for it, by the way. Yeah, if it's too large, it will not go through. Simple. Maybe that's what stopped it. Thank you. Thank you for that. I just remember that. 20, I think 20 megabytes is the largest size. Okay, I'm just going to say it and then shut my mouth. If you own an EcoTank 8550, don't buy a spectrophotometer because you will not need one. What? Yeah, try again, but if it, make sure it actually got sent. Again, if the file is too large, it will not go through. Yeah. Okay. All right, let's continue. Let us continue onward here. So maintenance. So how does a printer print? You load paper in the back. Older Epson printers, you had to push everything to the right side. So there was a guide on the right, a little stop, and then you had a movable guide on the left that adjusts for the width. And so you just put the paper against the right side guide and then push the little adjustable one so that it touches the edge of the paper. But before it starts printing, those two guys do this and they actually move. Even the one on the right moves further a tiny bit. It actually stops touching the paper. and the paper then gets grabbed on the older Epson printers. It only got grabbed on the right edge as you are staring at it. Okay, only on the right edge. So it was sort of like a lateral grab, and then the rollers will begin feeding the paper. Well, the rollers are made out of what? Rubber. And it's not the best rubber in the world. It will eventually become, what do they call when rubber gets shiny and slippery? You know what I mean. So, and this is what I fear about my Pro 100s that are almost 15 years old now, in box still. I have not used them yet. Um, does rubber deteriorate after time? I suppose. Sure. Have you ever looked at a 1920 Ford that has been sitting in the garage with hot summers and cold winters? That rubber cracks. It's glazed. That's it. Thank you, Captain Donzi. Where are you? Right there. Thank you. That's it. It becomes glazed. And glazed rubber does not grip. Okay, it slips. So you're going to have feed issues. So how do you maintain those rollers other than making sure there's no dust? Rubber, originally, this particular type of rubber is a little bit sticky, so it has a great ability to grip paper just by rubbing on it. It will grip it, especially photo papers. They're a little bit smooth and shiny, some glosses, obviously, and even the matte papers will grip tightly to that brand new roller. Okay. After a while, paper, especially when you're printing with some high end papers that are not resin coated, you will have the possibility of buildup with fibers, little dust particles from the paper. Barita papers, oh my God, the surface is constantly dusting off, creating little dust clouds that attach to the rollers because the rollers are sticky. So clean them. Well, how do you clean them? Well, there are liquids that you can buy that are specifically for cleaning rollers. Okay. Now, you may not find something specifically for cleaning printer rollers, but other machinery that transports paper, there are some cleaners that will allow you to clean those rollers. And Q-tips, and just clean, clean, clean. And if you can manually move the rollers, rotate them, more power to you. Now, an old technique, which is not really recommended, but people used to use for a quick fix, was to take a sheet of paper, like letter size paper, fold it in half, bottle of alcohol, 70% alcohol. You spray one half of it, the leading half, for instance, and you put that in. And then you press. If you have the ability to just send a sheet through, you do that. And the first wet half of it goes through. It cleans, well, it wets the rollers and maybe loosens some of the grime. And then the dry part, the other half, will blot it off and supposedly carry off some of the particles, some of the grime that attaches to that wet half. Do that several times. And then, like I did that with my 2400, half the time it would not feed. It would just begin, fail, and the sheet of paper would then spit out the front. And I would run that and it would solve it for a week or so. And then after a while, it began again. Well, alcohol is really not the best thing to do because it will further dry out your rollers. And you want them sticky. You don't want them dry and smooth. Okay. So, all you can do is just clean them momentarily, not momentarily, but every few months. Just take a look and see. You may not have any issues with feeding, but do it anyway as a matter of a general maintenance. And this is just, again, you don't even have to open anything. Just look from the top and then open your lid. Now, the interior, as it appears to you, of printers has changed a lot. Older printers like the 1900, They had a perch pad, they had a wiper blade, and on the far left, they had another pad where the print head occasionally, after so many passes, would go all the way over and wipe itself. And that pad would get so clogged up with ink, it would be like thick syrup in there. Well, gee, you waited too long. Okay. So for that, again, just Windex, either a bottle with a needle on it, a tip on it, like so, and just dribble that on those sponges and then very gently. And I was using paper towels, or if you want to get fancy, you can use gauze, cotton balls, something it's not going to detach fibers and then land in places you don't want it to, and just blot. Look at it. If it's gunky and black, you got to clean it more. Again, it takes patience. You should not never gotten to that point. In other words, if you look and it's gunky, that's you waited too long. Those older printers, they would wipe that print head, the surface of the nozzle plate right there. This plate right here would get wiped. On the opposite side, on the right side, there is a wiper blade that stays up most of the time or down, and it will come up like that. I'm sorry, if it's down, it will come up like this, and the printhead passes over and it wipes, and it goes over to the nozzle plate. I'm sorry, to the perch pad, and that's where it will park itself. That's where it goes to when it needs to perform a cleaning cycle and so forth. We'll talk about that again in a few more seconds. So wipe that blade. You can literally, with a long prong, like maybe a long, like a skewer, a little wooden skewer, just bring that wiper blade up and get Q-tips, long Q-tips, and clean that blade. It's made out of rubber. It's like a wiper blade for your window, except it's just not curved. Wipe it. Look at the Q-tip. Oh, it's black. More Windex and wipe until it's nice and clean, and then plop it back down. Okay, just carefully with your finger or your little stick, it will shift back down like that. And then the perch pad has a surrounding gasket. So the gasket looks rectangular because it has to seal around that set of nozzle channels. Okay, each one of those like golden looking rectangles contains 5 vertical channels. Okay, so 5 here, but around here is very smooth, and that gasket will seal against that smooth wall, and vacuum is applied, and a certain amount of ink is sucked out of each one of the channels, and it collects on top of that perch pad, and then the pump begins again, and you hear that whirling action. That's what's actually sucking the already removed or aspirated, if you want to use that word, ink out of the printhead, and it goes into your waste ink pads or your container. Okay, if you have a printer with a cartridge, it will go directly into the cartridge, and then this is going to be full of ink. Okay, it's not going to look like this. It's going to have globs of ink on it. So then the wiper blade will clean that off, and that goes into the perch pad as well. So keep those gaskets. If you don't know what I'm talking about, open up the printer, look at the, uh, here's what you do. Okay, you know the procedure to clean your printhead internally, to soak it, right, on Windex. Power it off, power the button, hit the power button, turn it off. Now, open the lid, hit the power button, one hand on the button, one hand on the plug. As soon as the printhead detaches and starts to move to the left, because it's going to do that, pull the plug, and that will unlock the printhead from the perch or the parking station. Move that printhead over to the left, out of the way. Take a look at your perch unit. You will see that peripheral rectangular gasket. Long Q-tips, clean that up. Look at it. Oh, it's still dirty. Clean it up. Clean carefully. Do not hurt or detach the perch pad is a pain in the butt to put it back in. Okay, be very careful. Look at the it's a ceramic plate that has a lot of little pores on it. It's not really a sponge. So look at it to see if it looks just all black, or do you see CMYK sections. On a simple printer, four colors, you will literally see yellow, magenta, cyan, and black. So take a look at that. If that is what you see, then the perch sponge is in good shape. If it looks black, Windex, Windex, pat, more Windex, pat. You're going to get tired of doing this Windex, pat, until you can now see it's supposed to be white. Yeah, if it doesn't look white, if it looks overall black with no CMYK color differences, it's just grimgy and dirty. I had a 3800 that was giving me a totally different nozzle check. I could not get it fixed by doing cleaning cycles at all. I finally decided to do cleaning the gasket. What it turned out to be was the gasket was so dirty and so crusty that it could not seal against the printhead. When I was doing the cleaning cycles, air was leaking in. It wasn't sucking anything. So it was actually changing the condition of the printhead this way and that way. I was getting different nozzle, completely different nozzle checks. Okay, where this section was not printing, the next time this section is not printing, but this one's printing. What the heck? So after I cleaned that gasket, and I then ran a cleaning cycle and nozzle check, perfect. And after that, I knew what I needed to do. Every few months, just take a look and clean that little gasket. Make sure it is nice and clean and smooth. If it gets damaged, that's it. You need a new perch unit. And if a shop cannot fix it for you, then you just buy a new printer. That's the way things are with these printers. That's what the company expects you to do. They don't want you to keep a printer alive for 20 years. No. They want you to buy a new printer. So these things can either be fixed, or you just throw your hands up in the air and buy a new printer. Because by the time you need to, maybe 10 years have passed, and you should be considering a new printer. Things have advanced that much. And that's basically about it. Now, after the paper gets transported, you have a bunch of little rollers, and you have that silver plate in the front with the last set of little wheels, pizza wheels. And those, basically, they're poking the paper and keeping it aligned and helping it go forward, especially the last inch where the rear rollers are no longer pulling the paper. Okay, that's it. It's the last little bit of paper. It requires those. And so sometimes on certain papers, there's really nothing you can do about it. You will find little marks, little prick marks on the paper. And those are usually occurring on very delicate papers like burrito papers. What can I tell you? Too bad. It happens. That particular printer maybe is adjusted a little bit too tight, and you cannot do the adjustment yourself. That's at the factory. And believe me, they're not using $10 a sheet paper to test it on. Okay, they're using regular resin coated paper or even just plain paper. So as long as it feeds, it's fine by their standards. So if that happens, then you just simply have to switch to another paper. I'm sorry. That's the way it is. Switch to a paper where those little star wheels will not put marks, and it'll be along the feed axis. Again, clean that area. There's going to be some aerosolized ink, especially if you print a lot of borderless. Borderless requires the printhead to print beyond the edges. And where does that ink go? It goes onto the sponges that are located along that platen. Windex, cotton balls, paper towels, clean, and do this every quarter. Okay, and that will actually prevent smudges, especially if you start printing greeting cards like we did last week, both sides. Remember, if you do that, you're going to make sure that when you flip the paper over, you're not going to get any roller marks over the freshly printed surface because you flipped the paper over, remember. So you need to make sure the printer's rollers are immaculately clean. And again, inside, just look around. You will say, if you take a cotton ball with a little bit of Windex and you wipe, and all of a sudden you see shiny, you have a overall coat. You didn't even notice. What looked gray should have been chrome. You see what I mean? So that happens. That happens internally. Even if you don't print borderless, you will still have a little bit of tiny micro droplets aerosolizing that whole area that is enclosed. It is actually pretty much not sealed from the outside, but that region is pretty well protected, and it's going to collect and it's going to land on all the surfaces. And if those surfaces touch the paper, then you're going to end up with smudges and marks on them. So just do that every few months. If you are refilling, make sure that you're not. Let's see, when you are using refillable cartridges, and just like say for instance Pro 100 sponge carts, if you drill that hole too big and then the plug doesn't seal, you're gonna get leaks everywhere. And boy, internal leaks are pretty much a pain in the to clean, because it just goes everywhere. So just make sure when you're refilling, if you choose to refill, be careful with your refilling. If you use refillable cartridges that are already designed for refilling, do the job correctly. The instructions they give you leave a lot to be desired often. And I look at some of this instruction, I go, oh my God, these people are going to have problems. These people who buy this are going to have problems, because they're almost giving me a super generic descriptive in what used to be another language, badly translated to English. Yeah. So make sure that look at videos, not necessarily just mine, but other videos on YouTube, and you will learn the proper method if you choose to refill, which you're not supposed to. Okay. Clear as a bell, you're not supposed to refill, but we can. Okay. We have come up with methods to allow us to do so. All right. So do that every few months. And your printers will last. You'll be wondering, why is my printer still printing perfectly? Especially since I want to buy a new one. No. It will continue printing. It will continue printing perfectly. That's what it wants. It wants you to print. All right, let's look at the Steve Excel says my reference is to use the front feed on my P800. So that's really good. It's a straight through feed. Set your P800 on a large work area where it will not impede the transport of the paper through. This is what they do. They modify some of the older, like the R2000, for instance, and the 1900. They were great printers for direct to fabric back in the day. Now it's direct to film. They don't do that anymore. So they used to actually have like a very thin piece of like some kind of plastic, and they would put slip the t-shirt over it, and it would feed from the front all the way through. But of course, it was modified to accept a t-shirt and a piece of stiff stock. But yeah, if the paper, like this paper, wow, I moved it. The paper, my art paper from Strathmore, super thick, super inflexible. Yeah, feed from the front. It'll go straight through, and then it will begin printing. So, you cannot beat that. Okay. Yeah, take a look. If it's too big, in other words, the file size is too large, it will not go through. He wants to check perceptual versus relative on the Pro 1000. I've been waiting for the price drop on the EcoTank 8550. Just bought one from Amazon. and especially good to know about incoming spectrophotometer feature. Now I'll have to retire it. It might be software related. Okay, don't jump the gun. It might not be a spectrophotometer. Right, Mike? I don't think that's what you meant. I think I heard you say um, something about software. Okay, so I'm going to open up the Pro 100, and this really applies to all the other Canon printers as well. As you saw, let me get my, if you saw this, you saw two zones, right? You see that? One has 5 colors, the other one has 5 colors, totaling 10. So these are your zones. So Epson printers do not have that. It's just all the channels at one time. So what is that for? What is that used for? Well, it's used to allow you. Normally, let me go to me before I begin this. So let's just say that, and we'll take a look specifically on the Pro 100. Let me get that loaded. I'm going to go right click. You can see this, but oh, wait a minute. I don't have a Pro 100 connected, so I'll use my Pro 1000. Just make believe that it has 8 channels. So right click and preferences. Okay. All right. So let's just say that, like happened to me when I discovered the issue with a third party yellow ink mixing with a remnant OEM yellow ink in my Pro 100 cartridges. Remember the yellow, yellow, um, and that needed to be at this very unknown condition. The proportion had to be perfect. The conditions had to be perfect. Like 90 something percent of the people never really experienced it. I did. And I was heading to Florida and I was printing some pictures for my mom to see. And boom, all I saw was magenta and cyan and some black. There were no reds, there were no oranges, there was no yellow printed in my images, my prints. So I said, oh, I better run a nozzle check. And I did, and sure enough, yellow channel blank. So I thought, oh, what have I been doing here? I said, Mike, my yellow channel is blank. Oh, take out the print head and run Windex through it. So I did that and it cleaned it, it cleared it. So, but let's just say that it was just a partial clog. So should I just run a deep clean, all 8 channels, even though the other 7 were fine? Or should I run just the zone containing yellow? That way, yeah, I'll run yellow. It should help it. And I'll run the other 3 colors that are in that particular zone. You see what I'm getting at? So you don't have to unnecessarily waste ink on the other zones. You can actually isolate that. On the Pro 1000, there are 3 zones, even better. So let's jump over to the maintenance tab. And I'm just going to show you the current situation here. See that? Nothing. There's no ink, right? No, that's because the chips are disabled. So this is what you're going to expect when you disable your chips. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and do maybe a nozzle check. Not a nozzle, a cleaning. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And I'm going to get this option. Now, notice there are 3 levels. This one only shows one droplet. That's a very light cleaning, a heavier cleaning, and a super heavy cleaning. Okay, this is a system cleaning. It's going to probably use up as much ink as it takes to empty your lines. Okay, be very, very worried about using this just for the hell of it. You're going to use up a lot of your ink. So always start off with the lowest clean cycle. Now here we have all colors, but wait, I only need one channel treated. So I'm going to look for that. I'm going to look for yellow. And here it is, group 3. It's got blue, yellow, magenta, and photocyan. So the perch pad on these printers, here's the key. And this is what, get it together, Epson, and do the same thing. Notice we have 2 zones. The perch pad is divided by 2 zones on this particular older printer. This is the same as a Pro 10. It's an 85, a 9550, I think 9500, sorry, 10 channel printer, the first one that Canon made. So the perch pad is subdivided. It can apply suction to one zone, the other zone, or both at the same time. The same thing with the Pro 1000 and all of those printers. All those big printers, they have different zones. So say, for instance, I had a problem with my gray and a problem with my magenta. Then sure, and if that's the case, then I run all the zones at once. But don't do that just for the hell of it. It will be very wasteful. Plus the fact that if you are isolating, for instance, this zone, the vacuum you generate will be applied to just 4 channels. It'll be much more effective in sucking and possibly unclogging any little obstruction. Maybe some ink was drying out a little bit and it needs to be, sucked out a little bit more forceful. You'll get more suction out of just using one zone only than you do when you do all zones, because that pump creates the same level of vacuum. It doesn't create a different level of vacuum. Okay, so keep that in mind. And that way you will end up not using unnecessarily all that ink on your other cartridges. And you know what happens, right? You have a cartridge that was getting low and it was printing fine, but because you chose all 12 or all 8 or all 10, now you're sucking ink out of that cartridge and now it's going to be low. It's going to be maybe almost empty. You might as well change it at that point, because if you don't, you be back tomorrow and change it. Tomorrow you start the printer, runs a little cleaning cycle, and now that one is empty. So yeah, just especially if you're refilling, folks, always keep those cartridges full, or at least above 50%. And you will never have that issue where one was almost low, and just because you ran a cleaning cycle, you only needed one color clean, now that color is empty. No, you will not run into that. Always keep them full. This only applies to refillers. As hard to believe as this statement is, your printers, especially printers, all printers have wasting pads or wasting cartridges. Your pads or your cartridges will last longer, meaning that scary message of parts of your printer have reached the end of their life is very likely to ever pop up. It never has on my Pro 100. Never did. In fact, I don't remember ever having a printer tell me that the internal pads were full. Never. That's because when I was refilling, I replaced all cartridges at one time. I can refill and I can reset. So why should I do one at a time? That's only necessary when you're using OEM, because OEM, you don't want to throw away, partly used OEM cartridges. Of course not. So you're going to do them one at a time. When you're refilling, you have 2 sets, and I'll tell everybody this, the same story every time. 2 sets, one sitting around waiting. It's reset and it's refilled. And then another one's living in the printer, happily producing prints for you, low or almost close to low. And these are not reset. These are not disabled, I mean. So you can see the levels. So one, you look at it every time you print something, you will look at that and you see, oh, this one is almost getting low. Okay. As soon as this is done, go to your printer, lift the lid up, print it, move to the center, especially Pro 100, remove all 8, put them on a Rudy Halleman cartridge holder. Get that. Okay. And use my link. Get that and use my link. You will never regret that. Put your cartridges there. Of course, you have clips on them. And then get that second set and pop it in your printer. Pop! All the levels are full. You're not going to get a surprise message that one cartridge is low tomorrow because one was almost low before you did that change of that single one. And then you used up ink on all 8 of them. Wow, what a waste. I'm glad you got that much money. I don't. So I refuse to do that. I will replace all 8. I have to wait a relatively long time before one cartridge needs to be replaced when they almost reach low. Meanwhile, I have already reset and topped off those 8 that I removed. One was almost low, meaning it still had ink here. This one is about 3/4 of the way down. I don't want this to run out of ink because then air will get in here. And that will ruin my refilling, period. I'll say it bluntly. That will ruin your and my refilling. Do it before air gets in. And air cannot get in if there is liquid ink in the liquid chamber still. Okay? That's the key. That is the secret. No one will tell you this. Only me. I'm the only guy that has told you that. I don't want to brag, but this has worked for me for, again, 14 years with the Pro 100. And again, none of the other printers that have used Canon cartridges that can be reset and modified have ever had an issue with the internal pads. Okay, even the Epson ones as well. But I can reset those pads. You just can't do that with the Canon printers. So anyway, do that, and that printer will last you longer than you will want to. You'll get tired of the printer because a new one came out and you're tempted to buy that one. Yeah, as simple as that. So a set, filled and reset. A set in the printer. One is almost low. Remove all of them. Put the clips. Put them on the little cart holder. Pop in the new set. You'll do this every 2-3 months. Okay. Instead of having, listen to this. Instead of having, for instance, on a Pro 100 or a Pro 200, you have 8 cartridges. If you do the one at a time, every time you close that lid, it's a cleaning or a purge cycle times 8. If I do all 8 at once, it thinks I only change one cartridge. It will run a purge cycle, all 8, but only one time until the very next time I need to perform that switcheroo again. Instead of every few days or every week or so, it'll be every several months. Your pads will last forever. Your printer will last pretty much until you get tired of it. The truth be known, I wasn't really printing on my Pro 100 that much anyway once I got the 8550. You see, so it would have sat there. But nevertheless, had I been using it, had I not have an 8550 and still using the Pro 100, and at that time I was using a Sys unit, I believe, from Ink Products. Pretty good, by the way. You just had to disable the chips, which was I didn't like that idea. Anyway, so regardless, always change the complete set. If you're going to refill, change the complete set. And that's why I say when you are refilling, your printer will last longer. At least internal pads will last longer, much longer than a printer that you are just exchanging one cartridge. If you're going to refill, why bother doing that? You're only forced to do that with OEM because OEM ink is expensive and you have to use all of it. Otherwise, you throw money away. Remember that. Take that to the bank. If anyone here has some other theory, please share it with us. But I'm telling you what has worked for me. And I've been doing this digital thing since since 1998, 99. Yeah, I had a crude printer back then. But yeah, it has worked. Okay. All right, let me go ahead and so non-use, you get a clog depending on the um, section of your printhead. Just run a clean cycle for that particular section, not a complete global one. Otherwise, you'll be wasting ink, especially if you're using OEM. Oh my God, I feel bad. I feel bad for you. But if you're refilling, it's just cheap enough for you to be able to handle it, and you can just go ahead and just you know even if you have to replace the cartridge, still a lot better. So and with today's inks, the results you get are so much, actually, with precision colors, so much better than OEM anyway. When it comes to the Pro 100, it actually almost matches the Pro 200 in quality. All right, so people wonder what the heck is inside a Pro 1000 cartridge. Now, I got two that I gotta top off, and I just got to get my replacement ink ready. But I did the Chrome Optimizer one. I used to have a cartridge here. It was full of Chrome Optimizer. Problem was it had a different chip, one that had not been disabled. So I took the cartridge with the disabled chip out of my printer. That one had about maybe 15 ml of ink in it. Took it out, took the cap off. And that's a pain in the butt to remove. Got the chip that was disabled and attached it to the one that I had here, which was full with Chrome Optimizer. Put the cap back on it, back in the printer, attach the sensor, and we are running again on that one. But this is what you got. So let me turn this on. People think there's a lot of things going on inside here. No, this is just a container. If I was to take this off, it's just an empty container. And this contains this. By the way, this is a keyway. Here's the chip. It comes loaded in a little holder. There's a little, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a little tab right here. And there's also one here. So you're going to put this, it floats. You're going to put it like this. Right there, lights on. And it's just going to float right there. And then you pop this back onto your cartridge. Okay. Now, what's inside here? I broke one of them off, and I have it right here, except I lost the poppet valve. I don't know where it went. So this is it. There is nothing else. The shape, all of the little angular surfaces, that is to allow ink to flow down this little slope and out this port. Okay. That's all it is. There's nothing fancy inside. It's not like Epson cartridges that have a zillion little passages, and they even have right here. There's I don't know if you can see it, a circular, multi segmented area. You see all those little lines and everything. Those are all the passages, and that is a diaphragm. Very fancy and impossible to refill. So don't even think about it. So this is. I literally broke this trying to remove it. Let me turn this off. That's creating too much glare. Okay, so you see that? So that basically is this. But I broke this one. Okay, now inside would be a spring, like so. Then a poppet valve, which is what I lost. And then this little rubber gasket sits right here like that. And it won't stay on because it's so slippery right now with a remnant chroma atomizer. Well, anyway, it goes in there like so. And that's it. And then that gets glued or welded onto your cartridge. Now, in the days where you could buy Chinese chips, Precision Colors was selling them at the time. Wait a minute, what is this here? Is my plug? Yeah. Here's the pop-up valve. I got it right here. Tiny. It was stuck inside the chip container. So this goes like so. Pop-up valve sits right through the hole of the spring, like so. And then this keeps it in place. Okay? So that's it. In the days of you being able to buy a one single-use chip for your Pro 1000, which were expensive, relatively speaking, like $14, $15 a piece. And Mike would get them loose, like a whole sheet of them. You have to break them off. And then he would buy the holders. Otherwise, you would have to take your old holder off, remove the chip, and somehow glue it or weld it in position. Nah. So he actually bought little white holders. This is the OEM one, little white holders, and that could then be used to, attach the chip to it. He and his wife did it. You saw her in the pictures earlier today, and that would you buy it and then you would pop it in simply like this, pop it in place like I did here, and then just pop this back in like so. And you go click and you pop it in place. Sure, it allowed you to print with ink levels and all of that. But they turned out to sort of like what he told me was that they were illegal. And so he decided not to sell them any longer. So I understand that, so he didn't want to get into any kind of hassles or trouble. I didn't put this on here, but I want to tell you guys my Pro 1, this was last week. Remember, I told you I needed chips. Well, it turned out that my bad eyes didn't realize that I did have enough chips for me to set up a full set, except for matte black. So that is at low right now. And even though the cartridge is full. So I got my Pro 1 working. I looked at precisioncolors.com, the Chicago one, Matt McNamara, and he has the chips available for $50 or something like that. So I'm going to be buying a set and possibly a few extras of the ones that I use the most. Let me go ahead and look Precision Colors up here. Let me see if there's been any change in the website. And I talked to Mike, and Mike sort of smiled at me. We didn't want to get into too much. He told me about the process they went through, the transition, the sale, and such. So right now, just so you guys know, important information, lead times, 90% of all of orders are shipping in less than 5 business days. So that's probably, would that be, does that translate to daily shipping, where today is Sunday, but tomorrow a shipment goes out that was ordered 5 days ago, and then Tuesday another shipment goes out that was ordered 5 days ago, and so forth. I don't know whether that is the case, or do they only ship once a week, or what? So Mike was shipping daily, and this was from Canada, which was a pain. Okay, so again, just contact them for questions. And they're now under new ownership. Read about the transition right here, the FAQ page here as well. So let's look at Canon. I'm just going to click on Canon. There's some links here, the old system. These links are no longer any good, obviously. So I'm asking him to remove this stuff, remove all of that. It's no longer accessible. So let's just click here, and you go to 12. This is the Pro 1. PGI 29 is the cartridge type Pro 1. And here are your refill kits and so and chips. So this couple of weeks ago said that there were no chips available, but now there are. So I'm going to buy the Baker's dozen, $55, and we'll see. That's a pretty big investment. As at this point, I don't know how my Pro 1 is going to continue behaving. Hopefully, it will be okay. So anyway, that is where we are at with that. And I wanted to print something on it. So I loaded a 13 by 19 Canon Glossy 2 paper, and I want to see what we can get. And then we'll look at my cameras. Okay, so let's go open up Q Image. Right now it is 1:30 almost. And see, I'm curious as can be about what Mike means by software. We're not talking a spectrophotometer. We're talking software. Let me get this set to the Pro 1 and 13 by 19. And we'll do a border of 1/2 inch. I'll show you this in a second here. Okay. Okay, so the printer is the Pro 1. We're going to change this to a Glossy 2 right there. And 13 by 19 and 1/2 inch border. So let's go ahead and load one of these images we have here. Or better yet, I found, and I don't know how this is going to work because they're relatively low resolution. I found some folders that I had where I had a lot of what do they call that? The screen, wall screen? No, what is that called? Where if you don't use the computer for a few minutes, it goes into the wallpaper. Yeah, that's it. Okay, so we're going to go to the desktop. Not this one, the other desktop. Here we go. And let's see. I think I have wallpapers right here. Let's go ahead and pick a good one. I have lots of them, but let's see. These are architectural ones. Okay. So I am going to be making metal prints from these little tiny metal prints for my, oh, by the way, so I've been working like a dog doing the miniature, and I have generated probably, if I was to sell everything at the price that I think I can get, many thousands of dollars worth. We'll see. I'm think I'm dreaming right now, and I don't think that's going to materialize, but we'll see. It should be good. Because I'm dealing with metal prints, that's more of a modern thing, so I don't think I'm going to do this as art. So let me see what we can print here. I want something colorful that will really help the Pro 1 show what it can do. The Pro 1 has 3 gray inks, so it's able to really produce beautiful transitions. Okay, we'll do this one. Okay, so let me go ahead. I'm going to exaggerate this a little bit. I'm going to first do the exposure. Again, only 1920 by 1260. So, let's go ahead and increase saturation. There you go. Make it pop. And 1. And let's go 150 this time. Okay. I like that. That looks good. And no cropping. I mean cropping. So it'll fit with a border. make sure that I got my semi-gloss. No, that's not what I want. I want the gloss, so suggest. That's not suggest. Let me see. I'm looking in the wrong place. Sorry. There you go. We're looking for the glossy 2 paper. So I'm going to just type in glossy 2. Here we go. This one here. I don't know whether I should use A or just this one. But again, this is the Pro 1000. Here's the Pro 1. And I guess it just has paper plus gloss. We'll use that one. That's fine. Yeah. Anyway, let's go ahead and print it. I did a nozzle check yesterday, so it should print relatively quickly. The Pro 1 is even more pesky than the Pro 1000 as far as like making absolutely sure it can print. There you go, it loaded. And I'll be hearing, if I hear any kind of a pump, then I'll know. So as you can see, my matte black is a little bit low. My dark gray is a little bit low, and the other ones are just a tiny bit low, but everything else is full. So I don't hear anything. I think it's printing right now. So in a few minutes or so, we'll go ahead and look at it. All right, hang in there. Yeah, so recommend for you that if you are going to continue printing on just glossy paper, then yeah, jump to the 8550 once you get it, and just save the R2000 for your other types of papers. It's really good for your art papers and your matte papers, okay, because of the fact that it is pigment ink, and the ink that I gave you was all OEM. So use your R2000 for more important prints, by the way. Yeah, now I'm very curious as to how that is going to be accomplished. Let me put this away. It's printing now. Notice it still took a little bit of time. But now at least it's printing. I should have checked the driver for full application of gloss optimizer or chrome optimizer. I did not. I didn't do that. So hopefully it is set to full. Let me see. The way to do that is to go into the printer's properties, and I think somewhere here, clear coating, overall. Good. So I had it set for overall. Let me take a peek. Yep, it prints very, very slow. It's almost like when the 8550 is set to print under Vivid Fine Art. I just did an also check on the Pro 1000 this morning. Perfect. And let's see what kind of a print count do we have here? See, very low print count. 950. That's all. Wow. Gee. So it's got a lot more life yet. And I have 2 print heads for it, so that's going to save my hide when it comes to that time. One I purchased and one was given to me by a good friend who is here right now with us. All right, so let's go ahead and begin. We're going to look at, I'm going to check out, I'm going to grab the very first camera I have here. I got it in a box with some surgical towels separating each layer. Got these from my work, of course. I did a lot of animal necropsies. And these were going to be thrown out so during the closing. Remember the practica? Or practica? This is the first time I do this. Wow. Still works. And this one had this little copper contacts there for your lens to be able to, and I guess here's the battery compartment. Oops, shoot, here it is. And I have no idea what kind of battery this uses. It looks like a regular, what is it, A battery, I guess. And I think this opens up the back, does it? I'd have to re-educate myself. I think you have to pull. Yeah, there you go. It had a metal a focal type shutter, not a cloth one like the Exactas did, which I have some of them. But hey, with a good lens, it did the job. So there we go. That's the first one. And I got to go back and do a little bit of a historic, check the dates of release, that sort of thing. Let me check my print. Yep, she is printing. I have not done a head alignment on the Pro one at all. So we'll see. We'll see what we get. This is the very first print over maybe 1 or 2 years on it. And I've been doing nozzle checks. And I got another Pro one that has a wonky print head on it where one of the colors only does 50%. And yet it produces perfect prints. The only problem was I needed a cartridge for, I think, a gray. And I just didn't have it at the time. And so it has sat there. So that was given to me by someone. Couldn't get it to work themselves. So here's another. So this is the Practica VLC 2. And then this is the other one. This has got a waist level finder. Folks, imagine you having to do this. You had a little magnifying glass right here. And you look down. You wind it. This winds the mirror. Brings the mirror down. Now I can see. And you do that. How about that? But again, they seem to be in great shape. I look for film. My God, it costs a fortune nowadays. So this is a Praktica FX2. Here's a Kiev. I think this is Ukrainian or back then Russia. And it was like a wannabe, what, Leica or something? Quite interesting. Got a self timer right here. Everything still works. Diaphragm works fine. Yeah, yeah. It has a rangefinder type focusing like a Leica. And again, I would like to, if I can find some reasonably priced film, I would like to test a few of these. This is the Hamanex Praktica Nova 1B. And they all work. And Nathan wants to come over and look at these as well. They're not in any kind of chronological order. Check this out. So this little puppy right here has just one shutter speed, either bulb or just whatever. I think it's 1/60th of a second, maybe. 35 millimeter. It is it's an Argus, the lens. So I think the camera might also be Argus. And I don't even ask me where I was buying these cameras from. I don't really remember at all. Here we go. This is the one you see on movies all the time, the Argus. And again, I don't know even how to use some of these anymore. I'll have to play around with it. But it's heavy, very heavy. You wouldn't want this dangling from your neck, for sure. Not for too long. It's got a rangefinder type viewfinder. Everything is very tight. Shutter speed right here. And front heavy. Edixa. Most of the time, the older ones, they had a mirror that would just flop up and it would not return. So you would have to rewind to the next. Then I'll have to look and see where these lenses go. Because at this point, I really don't know. Again, I haven't looked at this in ages, folks. I did a video on it long time ago where we talked a little bit about silver printing. Okay. Next layer. Oh, this was quite a well-known, relatively famous camera, the Kodak Retina. And I think you needed to rewind the mirror. Don't ask me how. Oh, yikes. I did not open up the tray. Hang on. It fell on the floor. My bad. Absolutely gorgeous. Look at that. It's too bad that the Pro One, as good a performer as it was, ended up being a total failure mechanically. It would eat printheads for a living. It would use ink unnecessarily for no reason whatsoever. Don't even think about um, like disabling the chips and not have to use chips anymore. Not only will you never know how much ink you have, there's no sensor system for it that can help you. But as a performer, this thing, I'll call it a thing, was unbeatable. I scratched the print as it fell off. Good Lord. Remember, this is very low resolution image. And look what QImage did. I'm glad that I increased the saturation a little bit just to kind of force it to see what it could do. And again, wow. Unbelievable. All right, well, I am going to get chips for it, and I will continue to use it. Maybe the more I use it, the happier the printer will be. That's what I have heard about the Pro One. You have to use it pretty much constantly. We have here an Asahi Pentax with the light meter. Check that out on the prism. The Zenith. And this is what kind of lens? Meyer Optics. Looks like an f1, 1 point something. Wow. Anyway, and you can see everything was hand operated. I love it. Okay, I'm running out of room here. It's getting dangerous right there. And here we're getting to the Exacta family. Exacta used to be manufactured in what became, Eastern Germany in Dresden. And then it moved to Western Germany, you know what I mean. Anyway, and boy, the collapsible lens shade is all bent out of shape. I did not like this new version. You see that? This is on open shutter. So let's go ahead and switch over to, it actually had pretty diverse, but I don't know. It just didn't have the character. And inside the surfaces are a little bit cloudy, and yeah, I don't like. It's like, are my glasses that dirty? No, it's inside the surfaces. This one needs a little help. Okay, now this is the Exacta VX2B. I like this one. It did not have a return mirror. So, and the buttons on the left side. So if you're left-handed, more power to you. So once the mirror goes up, that's it. It blacks out and you're done. But this camera was the most used camera in the scientific world back in the 50s. That's it. Microscopy, copy work, macro work. I have accessories in my other room for it, like extensions, all sorts of things. Yeah, it was quite a camera back in its day. But again, you have to be a lover of the Exacta to be able to. And there she is. Now I also have not the original Exacta, but the 1949 version, I believe. And I bought that when I was a teenager in Los Angeles. I think my dad had given me $20. And I went downtown, took a bus, went downtown. I was only like, what, maybe 15, 14. And I bought an Exacta for $20.99 plus tax. The reason I bought that camera was only because that's what my teacher, the man who ran the after-school camera club in my junior high school, that's what he had. And I saw the type of work he could produce on it. And I thought, well, I got to get one of these. So that's the reason. No other reason, really. So I'm just going to take cameras out of here in whatever order. This is the Nicomat. Or Nicomat. In Japan, you bought the Nicomat. In the US, you bought the Nikkor mat. But and yeah, I think it needs batteries here. I hope it still works as far as the metering system goes. But this is the Nicomat, and I bought this on my way back from Korea. We stopped in Japan for like almost a day at one of the Air Force bases, and I went to their PX and bought this for like $150, which was a ton of money back in 73 or so. Some lens, I don't know, and there's just a cap for a camera. Let me see what this lens says. It is a super multi-coated Takumar Asahi Pentax. Yeah. So this is for the Pentax camera that I showed you earlier. Oh, a Nikon FM2. When did I use this? My God. And this lens is obviously for one of those cameras with the external button. Shutter button. So this obviously needs batteries. Nice. Here's another Exacta. This one is the VL, no, the TL, Exacta VX100, sorry. VX100 or 1000? VX1000. So you wind it like that. And I think this one is stuck. I should not have done that. Okay. It's just this little button here that's stuck. And again, these cameras have replaceable or removable viewfinders. You can attach all sorts of different scientific type viewfinders on it for all sorts of different uses. Here's an older VX2A Exacta. The V, Model V. VX. And this is the one I started with. The 2. Waist level finder. This is my baby right here. This is what I used all the time. And still works. I had some of them refurbished. There used to be a shop in New York City called Exacta Camera Shop. And they did replacement of the cloth curtains in the back, the shutter curtains, and so on. And we're able to basically get some of my cameras back to life again. And remember, this is before the internet, so there was really no way. I think I saw the information on a photography magazine. So I was able to contact them by mail, and they said, sure, we can do this. We can do that for you. And so that's how I was able to restore some of these cameras that would have normally been, gone. Because the shutters, if you know anything about old-fashioned focal shutters, they relied on 2 curtains. So they would either, if you're going to shoot 30th of a second, one curtain would open and the other one would come down. 60th of a second, one curtain would open, about halfway down, the other one would follow. And he would literally scan across and narrower and narrower and narrower. The 1,000th of a second, hardly any slit. So one would open immediately, followed by the second one. So keeping those 2 curtains perfectly synchronized was a really tough job for a camera to do for you. It really took a lot of amazing technology, I would say, because normally you could not synchronize the 2 shutter curtains from traveling across at the same exact speed. You wouldn't want that slit to become narrower or to become wider. Otherwise, your density would change on your exposed negative. And so, yeah, that's what they were excelling at, this group. So they were able to get my cameras to work absolutely perfect. And I was very grateful for that, because it not only helped me continue using them at that time, but even today, they seem to be working okay, except for 1 or 2, and that's understandable. Anyway, of course, I don't do this any longer, and I was looking at some of these the prices that they're asking on eBay and such. I thought they were like almost worthless, but no, they are not. They actually do have some value. So I'm just gonna keep them. And my son, my daughters, they don't want this, so it's gonna be Nathan. I told Nathan, get ready, buddy, because when I go, you're gonna get a lot of stuff, man. And he laughed at me. He says, "You're not going anywhere." I said, "Okay, glad you feel that way. Love you." I said, "I love you too." I absolutely love this one. I have an 1892 plate camera that I have no clue where I put. That's somewhere back there. And then I have one that I'm going to show you next. That'll be the last one. Then I have a Nikon D70, a D90, and the D300. Those I bought while I was still working. The early days of, digital cameras. So everything fits neatly in a box. And I can put it away when I'm done. All right, let's see what you guys thought of that. So let me I'm gonna take this out of here. So it's 2:00 right now, 2:06. And I think that's gonna be enough. I forgot to put these away. Hang on, give me 1 second. Then I will go back and get my Graflex camera, 4x5 Graflex. But let me first check here, see what you guys thought. Whoop. Actually, I did use them all. Yeah. And even the one that I was talking about, the 1892, is made out of wood. It's got red bellows on it, and it actually had original glass plates on a holder when I bought it at a flea market for just $30 in New Hampshire. And I actually took a 4x5 regular Graflex type film holder, and I shot some pictures with it. And it was like going back in time, because the lens obviously has aberrations that are not corrected like today. Curvature of field, you had loss of focus on the edges, on the surrounding edges, and just the overall look and quality. You open up the back, you open the shutter, you focus with a cloth, and then you get it exactly the way you want it. Of course, it'll be upside down. You put a film holder, remove the slide after you close the shutter, remove the slide shutter, one speed only, and that's it. And then put the slide back in and develop the film. Quite a process. Now this thing here has to weigh, I don't know, 10 pounds maybe. And I actually used a Graflex style camera when I was working at Fort Leonard Wood. That was the let's take one of the holders out. Oh man. Film holder and the camera. Oh. there's no way I would go anywhere and shoot with something like this. And this was used, as you see in all the old movies. This is what they used. Again, with a flash unit, it needs to be clean. It's actually in really dirty condition. There it is. And it has a Rapax Max, that's the shutters, and a Woolen Sack. Woolen Sack is actually a pretty good lens. 135 millimeter f4.7 Raptar. So you would set the shutter to open. It's got a tilt and swing, as you can see. You can use that to get your depth of field when you're shooting up, say, architectural type photography. You can lock everything here. Now, Richard Bender would love this. It's got a rise and fall for the lens. And then here in the back, let me make sure I get that. Oh, come on. There you go. So open up the shutter, focus, compose, close the shutter. This is, of course, on a tripod. I have a film holder already here. Insert the film holder. Boy, are these tight. Pull out the slide. The film is facing the lens, the emulsion side. And then when you're done, you put it back in this way. You see that? So one side is silver, one side is black, right here on the edge. You see that? That means it's already exposed. You don't double exposure anything that way. That way you know that you already shot something on that side. And there are little tabs right here that you lock that slide in place. So now I cannot pull it out anymore. So that's how we did it. And you go out and you shoot your job, and you come back. My God, we had a Versamat film processor at Fort Leonard Wood, and we were able to just send those 4x5 sheets through there, and they would come out developed. And then you go to the darkroom and print them. So that's how these guys did it. And it has I don't know how the heck they even did it, because you're supposed to look through the viewfinder and use the rangefinder that way, but not if I have the back open. So, if you're doing the focusing by hand, then I guess you don't need the rangefinder. But if you put the film pack in, you could also get a film pack for it with multiple sheets. Then you really can't use the rangefinder too well. So what a pain. And this is your regular viewfinder. And I used to have a big flash bulb type unit for it. It attached to the side. And yeah, this is ridiculous. This is what they had to use. This is what they went through when they went out shooting. Yeah, I lived with one of these. When I joined the Special Forces, we were always on aircraft and helicopters and jumping and hanging out of airplanes, helicopters and such, especially me, the photographer. So they gave me a Leica M2, which is, as big as that little Russian copy. And so that was a lot more. Not one of those. I think we never really used these any longer. I used them, like I said, in Missouri, but not here. Not at the Pentagon either. When I came back to the Pentagon, it was already 84, 83, 84. So no need to go ancient. And I think this little holder right here is for the flash unit. You attach it to this, which again, what I saw people doing is just kind of guessing at the focus. and just shooting, just holding it out like this and shooting. But again, maybe I'm just not strong enough. That thing weighs a ton. Crazy. And I think that's going to be it. Let me take this out and put it with the other 4 holders. So I have 4 holders. I would love to clean the living daylights out of this camera, get it back in shape again. Got a tripod mount, very sturdy tripod mount at the bottom. So, and I would love to take some pictures with it and develop the film and then scan it and then use my commonly available printers and do some prints with it just to see. I know there's a guy here that does that. So obviously it's something that is absolutely viable, can be done. I would love to do that. Richard Bender says Kodak Gold 200 color negative film, 35 millimeter rolls, 36 exposure, 3-pack. I want black and white. I'm not a big color guy. Never was. Yeah, I love that. They show up on movies. I see Exactas sometimes, and they put black tape over the name. Um, no, no, I did. It just started working out of the blue. No, that kid has never gotten back to me. So I don't know. I don't know what that was about, really, to tell you the truth. Thank you. Thank you. Get everybody to hit that like button. Come on. I know you're all entranced by what I'm saying and you forget to do that. Snap out of it. Press that button. Do it. Your entire web page just be dead. Oh, okay, now, just in case that happened to anyone else. So far, so good, I think. I only used the Pentax Spotmatic. I had a Spotmatic. It was Army property, so in Korea. So in 74, nothing. That's exactly the time, too. I was there 73. Yeah, 2 curtains, unless they use the metal focal plane shutters. And those were a little bit better than the cloth ones. The older Exactas had the cloth ones. And that guy from New York was an expert at replacing them. Brand new curtains. And he would completely relubricate everything. And he had some way to measure the actual the actual distances. The slit. I work in a camera shop while going to tech school in 75, 79, which further introduced me to photography. Mostly Pentax, Nikon, Canon, Fuji, and Konica. Now I use Nikon. Yeah, by 68, I was already in the Army, so, and we would use whatever they had. And this is when I got into photography in the Army. You know that story. It happened by my company commander really simply awarding me the MOS, military occupational specialty. I used to be an occupational therapy technician at that time. I did a job for him, and he was so impressed that he said, "Would you like to become a photographer in the Army?" I said, "Sure." And he literally changed it, just issued orders, and it was done. I don't think they can do that any longer. They don't have that kind of power. Julian, hello. Can't bear to part with my old cameras. Yeah, I know. Nikon FTN, Nikon N908S, Nikon D600, Nikon EM Nikon D50. You have a great collection. Yeah, I go back a little further back than those. But yeah, I just couldn't. I would buy anytime I see something different, especially I wanted the whole family of Exactas from Germany when they went to West Berlin, yeah. Um, and they made that new one that I don't really like. It just wasn't the same quality any longer, and the scientific world just gave up on it completely. Fred Bird says 4x5 is what we used when I went into the police job, 1963. Great camera, and we have a attachment that went on the front for close-up imaging. Sure, absolutely. A favorite film camera of yours? Well, nostalgic. Yeah, I love my Exacta. Don't ask me why. It is not by today's comparison. Of course, you can't even come close. But back then, literally, it was the camera to use. You go into what was that? The famous photography magazine, um, famous photographer. I don't know what it was called. And go to the back section where all the ads. These exactas were selling new for 400, 500, $600 back then. This is 1960s money. Okay. And all the attachments, what do you call those rings to extend your lens a certain amount, bellows for close up, attachments for microscopy, you name it. That's for telescopes. That's what they were using. And anytime you see a 35 millimeter camera in 1950s movie, like early 50s, it'll be an Exacta. They'll cover the name, but you can see that trapezoidal shape. That's not a word. Trapezoidal. Yeah, you know what I mean. That shape is that shape like this. It looks like that. Fat in the middle and narrow to the edges, with the back is nice and flat. But yeah, those were the cameras. Yeah. And I also used to see Argus cameras being used by tourists. And anytime somebody shot a picture with a 35 millimeter back in those days, it was an Argus. So yeah. I should get some ink to see if I can get my Pro One working. Um, yeah. Here's the thing. You start it up. If it's been off but not unplugged, start it up. If it begins to do a cleaning cycle, more than likely it'll be okay, but you're going to probably run out of ink. But if it immediately just stops and the lights flash, that's a B200 error. That's your inability of the print head to communicate with the printer. So you just turn it off, pull the plug for 10 minutes, put the plug back in, power it back on. And if it goes flashing again, if it does this like numerous times, then that's it. You need a print head, and they're just not available any longer. They do not exist. I wish I had one, but they don't exist. I have one here, but it is completely broken. Let me see if I can pull it out without making a mess out of everything. Here it is right here. One day I looked inside and it looked like someone had murdered my printer. Magenta ink everywhere. So this is the print head for the Pro 1. 3 zones, as you can see. This is leaking ink still today. This is print head number 4. Print head number 5 is installed right now. Yeah. And back then, even though they were available, they were $175 each. So every time I had to replace one of those, that was big money. So, and I don't remember exactly, but I think I bought the printer. I think I bought it new, brand new. And the minute I installed it, it went into a B200 error right from the beginning. Mike Lee also had one, and his went into a B200 error. So we were on the phone with each other, and I called Canon. They say, "Well, take it to a Canon shop." And unfortunately, I had bought it from someone on eBay whose husband passed away, and she was trying to get rid of the printer brand new. So there was no warranty on it because I couldn't prove, you know, whatever. And she didn't have any paperwork on it either. So I bought a new printhead. But as we were messing around, and it began to charge the printhead, so everything was fine at that point. I have a video that I will be uploading, hopefully, showing you that. As you guys may know, I've been uploading bit by bit from like 2019 onward. So one of those videos for the Pro One, when I got the Pro One, should be coming up hopefully soon. And you'll see what I was going through at the time. So luckily it started working, and so I'm grateful for that. I'm not having issues with my Pro 1000. It says maintenance. Yeah, I saw that on my Facebook group. So the door has a little latch on it, a little pokey part that presses against an internal sensor. If you are able to do so without too much, moving your printer around, flip it around so that you can stare at the back door yourself and open the door, remove the MC20 cartridge, and just see if there's anything in there. I I cannot for the life of me come up with a reason why that would happen. Okay. And as you well know, I know you contacted Canon, and they could care less. It's a Pro One. Nobody cares about that anymore. Simple. Sorry. Um, Unfortunately, that is the situation right now. But if you don't have any ink at this point, I think that was you earlier. Um, I would be very careful spending too much money on it. I'm out of ink, so I will not do a cleaning right. So I don't know what that error means. Does it mean that the door is not tripping the sensor? I mean, you could be out of ink. It doesn't matter. You close the door, it recognizes the cartridge, that MC20. It will not necessarily say, oh, well, I cannot help you because, the door sensor is faulty. If the door sensor is faulty, then it gives you that you have the door open error, and that's it. You cannot do anything else. So while the printer is on, turn it around, look at the whole situation, open up that door in the back, because once you put the cartridge inside and the chip is red, okay, it's going to read your chip, and then you close the door. While the door is still open, the printer says, hey, your door is open. Then you close the door. The chip has already been read, okay, but you close the door, and that says, okay, I am okay now. I can actually operate because my owner locked my door. You see? So it's a series of events. So you reads the chip, recognizes it as is not full, is still able to be utilized, and then the door operates that sensor. So look at that carefully and then figure out. You look at the door, almost close it down, and you see where that little protruded area must it must be operating something. Take a very, very like a skewer little stick, 16th of an inch diameter. If it fits in there, something that will fit, but you don't want to harm anything, and see if you can trigger something. If it's a very blunt little spike that then pushes against something, you should be able to just get like a piece of cardboard or something in that particular shape, maybe a little longer, and just try to trigger that. and then look at your screen at the same time and see if that error goes away, because that has to be triggered first before your screen says the error is gone. Okay. And then if you're able to do that, remove it and the error comes back on, then you know that's what it is. Okay. Good luck. Yeah, it's a pain, I know. And hopefully if you get it working, the this is on the Pro 1000, so that's an excellent printer. But get that checked out. It's too bad that the Pro 1000 really cannot be just put thrown in the back of a seat in your car and take it to a shop. No, um, Pro 1000 is still a viable printer, but you have to really handle it carefully when you're transporting it from one point to the other. If you can get someone to officially, professionally look at it for you. Um, but Miko with the Pro One, yeah, that's yeah. You need some ink and just see. You need ink, otherwise it will not. When you try to turn it on, it will not operate. So, but I got confused here with Demo and then Miko. So Demo's got the Pro 1000, where the door to the maintenance cartridge, the MC20. That's really is a waste ink cartridge, not a maintenance cartridge, as they try to call it. Okay. I think that is going to be it. Anyone have anything else you want to talk about? I mean, I'm here. I already packed my camera, so I don't have to do that afterwards. So I got a little bit more time for you if you would like to cover something else. Not a problem at all. We didn't really print anything except for the Pro One, and that's rather unusual. I'm going to be doing, like I said, some of these images that used to be wallpapers and put them on aluminum, maybe small prints that I can just sell for like $10-15 already ready to be mounted and everything on a miniature room, a modern room type display. And a lot of people are doing that. It's not just period rooms that they build. So yeah, but the problem is you need, okay, we're talking about, Miko's talking about the Pro 1000. Um, how are your chips on your cartridges? What level are they at right now? If they are low, you only have so much more life in them, and then you'll have to. But if they are before low, then refill them. Do you know how to refill them? You need a special tip for that, and Precision Colors has that. So you buy the refilling kit and the tip and the syringes and fill them and get them up to, so empty, they would be like bone dry empty, like this one is. If I put the other cap on it, it will weigh about 32 grams total weight. And full is 80 more grams, or 112 grams. So just add enough ink so that they are like above 50%. Okay. And you can either drill a hole like so, put a Canon type plug on it. You can buy those as well. And then top it off strictly with a syringe or a bottle, like so. Weigh it. As long as it weighs more than, like I said, 32 is empty. You want it to weigh above 60. You can then pop it back in, regardless of the level of the chips. It doesn't really matter. And see if you can, then play around with the back door. Because if you get that back door to work, and you don't have ink, you don't have enough ink, what's the point, right? So it's up to you. But if you feel that it's worthwhile to go that route, then do so. Yeah, give it a try. PC has outstanding inks for the Pro 1000. Well, you know what? If you get the inks, you can still use them on a new printer anyway. Eventually, when you start running out of OEM, drill that hole, 5/32 of an inch diameter. Do it carefully. You take a razor blade and then you trim off a little ridge that it will create. This is kind of a soft plastic, so the drill bit tends to create a little bit of a lip on it on the upper surface of the hole diameter. Clean it with a razor blade. Test the plug. Make sure that it's not going to fall off. You see what I mean? That way you know it's sealing. Um, that's very critical. And that cartridge now is ready, whether it is half full or not. You can now add ink to it. And the printer, as long as you keep adding ink to the cartridges, even after the chip says, and it's a whole uh, method that the printer uses. Do we have time to even discuss that right now? Um, to determine that the cartridge should now be empty. Okay. But the cartridge has ink in it because you've been fooling it. You've been topping it off. So eventually, after a while of this constant low, 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 it gives you an error on your screen on your printer. It says 1730, 1753. Press the second button down from the power button, 5 seconds, processing. Now that chip is disabled and you'll get no color indication. That chip is now disabled. You need a sensor now attached to the cap to be able to continue printing, or just make sure you check your cartridges often enough. But don't do it too often because that locking mechanism can get damaged if you're just constantly checking. No, don't do that. Get the sensor system. Now, um, if you decide to get a new printer and you have already bought inks and you find that you cannot fix it, then you can use those inks in the new printer anyway at some point in the future. So they will not be wasted. Yeah, interesting to see what grabs the young Nathan's fancy. I'm going to set it up. It's going to be very heavy load for me to take upstairs, but I would set it up on the dining room table and just see. He just wants it to display. He's got books, he's got models, he's got tons of Lego, tons of these Japanese Gundam robots that he has meticulously put together and weathered, and yeah, decals, you name it. He is really good. He surprises the hell out of me. So, and we'll see. He just wants one camera. He maybe probably take more than one. I know he will. But yeah, he's going to get them all anyway. He doesn't know that yet. Oh, thank you. Thank you. That's a pretty good um what do you call that? You know what I mean. In Spanish we say flores. You give somebody flowers. Me diste flores. Yeah. Okay, so Miko of the North says Pro One printer has been off for 4 years. Yeah. Um, good luck. And all the inks are below 30%. 3 have red lights on. If you wouldn't try to see if the printer will print, what would you what would be a good replacement? Well, for the Pro One, there is no replacement. The Pro 1000 was basically the next printer that came out. Canon just said, forget about it. They just threw it like it never existed before, threw in the trash, basically. Disowned. Yeah, that's what they did. The printer, and I forgot I was going to demonstrate something. This printer, I'm glad you brought that up. I'm not leaving yet, folks. Uses this type of cartridge. Totally opaque. One port. Here there is an optical, some kind of optical cable that you can see something inside. It says PM. I think this is a full one. I just need to put a chip on it. And I'm going to take that to the back and put a chip on it. I have a few chips left, but I'm going to order some more. And what about internally? This was a pressurized ink delivery system that Canon was messing around with. And I think they failed. So if I was to take the cover off, this is what's inside. That's an ink bag. This seals the internal space with Mylar. Now, when I insert this to the printer, it pressurizes it. I forget where it does that. I think one of these holes right here. So it pressurized the inside so that Mylar would expand out a little bit. That bag would then be full of ink. Obviously, you put a new cartridge in and it presses against that bag. The pressure is maintained by the printer as you're using it, and ink is delivered through the ink lines to the printhead, to the dampers, and out the nozzles to your piece of paper. So that's how it is. And this apparently failed. It really was not. They really didn't have enough experience to getting into a pressurized system. That's why they threw that printer out and they immediately created the Pro 1000, which does not use any kind of bag. It's just an empty container and it flows by gravity, simply via that little slope right there like that. And the other larger printers, they have cartridges that fit in this orientation vertically. So definitely gravity fed ink system. So to refill these, it's a little bit tricky. You can see right here, little plastic, reminds me of these right here. The original, see that little cap with 4 little corners on it? That is for the Epson P800. No, the Pro 3800, 3880 style printers and other larger printers of that category. They had that. So this has a similar little cap right there. Now, above that, there's a gap. And so I think that's how it pressurizes it, now that I think about it. And the nozzle that this mates with in your Pro 1 printer performs a seal inside that bag's poppet valve, pushes the poppet valve in, and it seals. So we designed a tip, this diameter tip with an angular cut in the front, but the last little bit of the tip is actually flat. Okay. So I have 10 ml of ink. You can see the bag is collapsed. So if you were to not do this correctly, you would end up with ink inside the compartment. And you don't know that's happening because you can't see it. Remember, it's completely opaque. I just took that cover off. So you're going to insert this, press down. Watch, see that? Press down, do not move, and push the ink, what would be ink, into that bag. And you see the bag is expanding a little bit. Okay, like that. Now you see the bag is full of water. And I don't have any water inside the compartment. Okay. You don't see that happening. You got to be really careful. So let's just say if I buy a bunch of used cartridges that are almost empty, claiming to be empty, I could stick this in, hold it upside down. I can extract all of the ink right out of it. And that's it. I cannot go anymore. I have collapsed that bag. And you see that is an optical. You see how it's rectangular and it's got a little rod next to it, like at an angle? That's an optical sensor. Okay. it actually can sense when the sides touch it, and it knows then I'm empty, and it cannot wait until that takes place because imagine it's trying to pressurize ink, and no, anyway. So at that point it is empty a little bit before that, and you remove the cartridge, throw it in the trash, and that's it. But a lot of empty cartridge, a lot of people would remove the cartridge a little bit prematurely because they're wary about it running out mid-print. And I've been able to extract a lot of ink out of some of these so-called empties. And that's how I was able to feed my Pro 10, which used a very similar ink system. But anyway, that's it. It's got a little bit of a stain. This is photo black. Again, so that's how you would do it. So if you had a so-called empty cartridge, you would use like a 60 ml syringe. You weigh the cartridge. Empty is 43 grams, and full is like 83 grams. So 40 ml of ink. You load 40 ml of ink in there, or you weigh it and see how many grams about above 43 this way. So that tells you how much ink is in there, and then load the correct amount. Okay. And so you insert it, say this is the correct amount. I have a little bit of ink here. I determine how much ink is left inside through weighing it. I stick this in. I pull back and make sure that I am sucking out that ink. Okay. I suck out that ink. When it collapses, I should have 40 ml here. And then I inject it. Make sure I'm not injecting air, by the way. So to do that, you do it this way. The air will go above, and now you're just injecting ink. And then at the end, just pull back a tiny little bit, and you might see a bubble here and there. That way you remove all the air out of the bag, and then you can use it. You would need a chip. Well, that's where it gets tricky. So you buy the chips. Precision Colors has them. They're like $4.50 each. They are not going to fit here. Okay. This is made for an OEM chip, which is completely flat underneath. It's got a few little, you can see some electronic type components on it, but it's flat and it fits right on those two little posts, flat. No, the Chinese chip has a globule of resin covering that little electronic area. It doesn't fit. I used to have to mill on a milling machine a little concave round cavity without damaging the posts. Very tricky. And I used to sell these modified sets of cartridges for you to then replace the chips yourself. I no longer do that. But yeah, then you can put the chip. It will fit perfectly in flat. See, there's a lot to this that you need to be aware of. The Chinese chips do not fit the OEM cartridges unless they are modified that way. Okay, so be aware of that. You can still buy so-called not refillable, but these are refillable as they are. But I'm talking about compatible cartridges. If you just want to test your printer, you don't want to go through that whole process I just went through explaining to you, then you just simply buy some compatible cartridges. They have them on eBay. They have them, I think, on Amazon even. And then just test out your printer. Turn it on. See what happens. Best thing that could happen is that it begins to do a clean cycle. And if it does that, then you're good to go. Then you do a nozzle check. God, if that is clean, then you're really ready to print. And that's what happened to me. I was getting ready to send it to the dump. How about that? Miracles do happen. Richard Bender says to Harold, my first 35 millimeter camera was a Kodak Signet, which had a German lens, was very good. But my old favorite was, and I still use it, Kodak 35. So like a size lens, a Tessar, that type of lens. When is Mike coming on? Mike was supposed to contact me this weekend, but the only contact I got was him sending me that photograph of us looking like a bunch of nuts. I'll show you that again in case you missed it. So, like I said, when we met them on a day they were flying home, their grandson, their nephew's car battery was almost dead. So we went over there and jumped the battery. Here he is holding the two positive ends, and I'm holding the negative on my ear. And yeah, this is his wife. This is my wife. This is Mike, and this is crazy me. So, and yeah, he told me that he was gonna contact me, but I think he got busy, possibly. I'll talk to him later, and we'll plan a day. He said he would be willing to. So, okay, let's see. Could you ask why what? Oh, Harold to Richard. I don't know what that's about. Anyway, your favorite was Kodak 35. I mean, yeah. It's built like a tank, easy to handle, took great pictures. I later graduated to the Nikon F3, then Nikon F4 before buying the Nikon 995. So in Vietnam, they used the F2 a lot. I remember, like in Saigon, the newspaper, the Stars and Stripes. That's what they used all the time. Yeah. Let's see. If I can't, I'll try to remove the. Oh, no, no, no. No, you cannot. You cannot remove it. There is a long process to removal of that printhead. I have it. Try powering it off first and see before and you cannot clean that printhead. You cannot. Don't even think about it. You can replace the printhead, but that's about it. There are 12 cartridges inside the printhead. How in the world are you going to do that? All you're going to do is damage it. That's what kept me literally for months from using it. I was afraid to see what would happen if I powered it on, and I don't know what got into me, but I did it, and it started doing a cleaning cycle, and then I did the nozzle check, and it was fine. I can't explain it. There are some secrets about that printer that caused Canon to get rid of it. It's as simple as that. If you go to a higher printer, I recommend the 1100. Okay. Or the 1000. If you can find a good buy on a brand new 1000, yeah, get it. 1100 is a little bit better. The ink had been reformulated somewhat, provide you a better result when you're printing on like matte papers, deeper blacks. I don't necessarily agree with those so-called improvements, but they're there and they are visible in some types of images. You will see that difference, and it's up to you. It's whatever. Everything's subjective. Whatever you think is best, that's what's best. Whatever you say, you're the boss. So if you like the look of the 1100 output, same image, compare the two, and you prefer the 1100, that's it. Case closed. You're done. So can it be refilled? Of course. Can the chips be disabled? Of course. Is anybody making inks for the 1100? You'll have to look and see. Precision Colors hasn't yet, so, and I don't know whether they will or not. So, but again, excellent printer. Epson, sure, excellent printers as well, but you can refill them. So the only way you can get away with that is if you live in Europe. So, all right, I think that's going to be it. Let me go ahead and load my goodbye slideshow. Get it ready. This will give you a chance to give me anything else you want to talk about. And if not, then we would love to see you again here next week. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving. If you celebrate, have a great Thanksgiving. Don't eat too much, like I will probably. Yeah. And we'll continuing. Okay, there's some more here, so I will go ahead and go through these before we call it a day. Hang on one second. I need to set all of this stuff manually here nowadays because of the way they took away our ability to do things automatically. Now I have to pay, and I'm just not willing to do that. Okay, so let me go ahead and read the last few comments here. And while I am playing the slideshow, if you enjoyed today's hangout, let me know, and I'll go ahead and post that. I need to fix all of this. Wow. That's what happens when you don't look in the mirror or in front of a camera. Yeah. Yeah, or the 8550. If you want to go Epson, 8550. And again, remember what Mike just promised us. So that might be a good choice. And right now it's on sale for just under 500. So my first decent camera was a Kodak Retina. Oh yeah, 3C made in Germany. Then I graduated to Minolta. I used to have a Minolta. I don't know where it went. I also had a Brownie. Yes. And I got another box of cameras because I didn't see a single folding camera. I have another box of cameras, maybe in the other room, in the storage room. I have several folding cameras. I don't know where they should have been in this box, but no, they're not. Yeah, it's ink or bust. Yeah, try it. And again, you buy the ink, refill the cartridges. Even if the printer's off, just take the cartridges. I mean, open up the door, take the cartridges out, and refill them either way, you drilling a hole or not. There is a video by Ink Owl where they show you how to do it simply with a syringe and vacuum, what they call vacuum/pressure filling. You push ink in, creates a positive pressure inside. You pull back the syringe, create a negative pressure. You still have ink in the syringe. Push ink in, pull out, create a vacuum. And eventually you will fill out that cartridge with 80 ml of ink or up to, so that it weighs 112 grams or so. Yeah, well, that was already pretty modern right there. Yeah. Exactly. Take advantage now because that does not last forever. Thanks all for the trip down camera memory lane, and thank Jose for all the help on printing without tears. That's the whole thing. You need to be able to you create something and you're amazed by it. Maybe you're the only one. That happens to me all the time, where everybody, oh, that's cool. And I think it's fabulous. You got to get over that. Okay, get over yourself. That's my issue. And then you want to print it. You just don't want to look at it on your monitor. You want to print it and take that print to different places and show people. Hopefully they'll react the way you did. If they don't, that's fine as well. But yeah, that's the whole thing, and be able to then reproduce what you created. And that's the biggest key. That's the biggest uh, goal you can achieve, to be able to reproduce what you created. And this is your only source of displaying to you. That's why it's called a display. What you created, and you want to sort of make it match. By sort of, I mean, it's not going to be absolutely perfect, measurably perfect match. No, of course not. But you wanted to approach what you created. Otherwise, why did you waste all that time, right? So that's the whole goal. And if you can figure out a way to not make any mistakes along the way, especially if you're using OEM ink, that's a lot of ink being used up unnecessarily. Um, by all means, learn how to do it properly. This is why I started this channel years ago, to share what I did wrong. Basically, mostly, this is what I did wrong, folks. Avoid everything I did wrong. Once I discover how to do it correctly, this is the route you need to follow. And with tools like QImage 1, you can save everything you do. Whether it's wrong or not, you can save everything and go back and reproduce it anytime you want to. And if you have more than one printer and you have the mind, my wife says I have the mind of a sieve. What, where you put your potatoes and drain the water off. She gets at me sometimes for that, because I forget things. But I'm getting old, so then by all means get something that's going to allow you to recall, not necessarily with your brain, but the printer's brain, the software's brain. And you can then repeat everything you did correctly. This did not work. Well, I'm going to delete that set of settings. It will no longer be available for me to do that mistake again. You see what I mean? So from that point onward, you're producing nothing but perfect prints. As long as the printer is working correctly, your monitor is correctly calibrated, so that it matches. Remember last week, it matches your standard image output that you printed correctly. Okay, so that is your standard. This baby right here. If I look at this and I look at that and it matches, then I know my monitor is correctly calibrated. I'll be able to edit. Otherwise, how can I edit if what I see is not really what I will get? You see? Anyway, that's it. Thank you so much again. Don't forget to subscribe. Tell everybody about this, please. We need to get going again. I think by early spring we'll be back on. Okay, completely back on. Um, every week as I do my update and I see my numbers, it's just going really quickly. So that's good, and I do appreciate any support you guys give me. Um, Telling people about this and making the channel more accessible for those who are doing what we do, print photos. All right, so that'll be it. Let's go ahead and play a slide. Let me see if I can do this without messing up here. Okay, we got it. Let's go. Let me turn on the volume. Volume up midway. And we will see you next week. Bye-bye, everybody. Wepa.